So here we are again, May 1st, Terrea Zumeta Food Forest, Old Growth Orchard Nursery, at the near the crest around knob. We're on the the north edge of our property. Coming across some mulberry, black locust and mulberry, as well as some Oregon white oaks planted along the edge up above. The con didn't make it. There is an olive in a cage back there that's chugging along. That was to discourage people driving up there. There might be some Oregon white oaks planted along that ridgeline over in the Forest Service land. Native trees, but who knows who planted them. So there's an apple there. Not too happy, but it got almost no water last summer, and it's planted on a pile of rocks and a little bit of clay. This olive is also doing all right, considering how poor conditions it got. This hole in the ground that holds water, to my surprise, as part of the driveway fix, and I figured might as well catch the overflow from our water tank, which is fed by a solar powered pump. So cherry in the cage on that ridgeline. Some mulberry down below that I am not sure is gonna bounce back. There's a buffalo berry up here. I also planted some sea berry, which is another nitrogen fixator on this. I don't know even if you'd call it dirt. It's mostly rocks. There's an Australian tea tree, that shrub right here. Blends in the background. It's Australian tea tree, and there's another buffalo berry, plum, stone fruit rootstock. And there's a pear on the tree down below, just in front of that pine with the sign for private drive. That tree is a mulberry, and again, that one, like a lot of the mulberries, is less happy than most of the other trees. Here we have an olive. Parallel this swale, it catches the driveway runoff. We have cherry, needs to be grafted. Mulberry that was grafted, but not broken dormancy yet. It's kind of late, being May 1st. Buffalo berry. One of the older mulberries I have planted, that was older when it was planted, leafed out in March and then got hit by some hard frosts, and it still hasn't re-leafed, but has green underneath the bark, so it should come back. I believe this is a common pear. Yep. Get grafted to some choice varietal. This is a mulberry above another great potential pond spot. It's a stone fruit rootstock. It's doing quite well, and it's north of the pond spot, so it'll get nice reflection. It might be a nice spot for one of those peaches or apricots that really like heat. So here's the swale we dug. Again, trying to get the water off the road, which is one of the only places on earth that water does almost no good, and get it somewhere it can do some good. And we do have Some nice wetland life in here starting. Black elderberry, buffalo berry. Just a twig, no leaves right now. Elderberry, that's a black elderberry. There's a cherry, another buffalo berry. Some alder mixed in that, those shrubs. This is grafted to an almond, which isn't taking, which I'm kind of okay with. I'm kind of wishing I grafted it to something else. There's another almond up there. I don't know if I need to grow almonds. Kind of rather grow hazelnuts and walnuts for protein. I think we might get too much rain here for almonds as well. We've gotten over 100 inches this past calendar year, and I've got 120 the previous year. This is a cherry. Plum rootstock, or stone fruit rootstock. Linden, first it didn't take last year, so I planted another one. So propane, we need to get a shed for that. An apple, one of those seedlings. So that one got irrigated, but at least 3 of the unirrigated trees have survived as well. So those will be worthwhile to possibly breed with in the future. So alder, this is another stone fruit in the background on that. Huckleberry, here's a common pear. A mulberry didn't take there last year. There's a mulberry back in those shrubs. You can, I don't know if you can make out that cage, but there's a mulberry. It wasn't big enough to be grafted. That's right. So here's some areas that we probably need. Well, we definitely need to do some thinning for fire, and we'll make use of that wood to help grow more other plants. There's an apple there in the cage. There's another cherry. There's a pear. The stone fruit, prunus, rootstock. There's another pear. These azaleas are beautiful and really fragrant when they come out. And scrub oak, old Doug fir. Say stone fruit rootstock, cherry. It's a happy Doug fir. Relatively short for how thick it is. There's solar panels over there, so we can't grow them too tall in front. There's a forsythia for bees and just for beauty. Pear. In the background there is a stone fruit rootstock. There's a pomegranate up there. Another stone fruit here. And then another pomegranate in front of that big manzanita. I'll try not to blind with the light. There's a mulberry, white mulberry. Aronia, big leaf maple, Aronia, an elderberry, black elderberry. I should really label that while I can still remember. This is another overflow of the water tanks. I cut it off to have it be held as high as possible. It's a secondary overflow when the pump is running fast enough to exceed what can overflow into the pond above. So there's a Vandalay cherry. It's a sweet cherry. Another black elderberry. And then there's an alder and a big leaf maple. We're walking back down to those citrus trees above the pond, where if they bounce back, they will get the reflected light and radiant heat of the pond. so that will hopefully allow them to survive the nights here, which can get into, so far I've gotten to the mid-20s, but could certainly get down probably to 15 at best. Like these big manzanitas. The rumble in the background is compost tea, which gets delivered to all those trees above in that tank. I'm trying to refine that system. So this fence and gate were all built when we moved in. It's called a rock jack, basically a box of rocks that can be used in lieu of a post when you are on bedrock, like this is. And then this is some of our native serpentine rock, the wood frame that we built. These tree collards, some of the most resilient and robust greens I can imagine, and they just reproduce faster than we can eat them. It's an awning we hope to expand and finish as a wraparound also solar greenhouse. The rock jack. Those are pups, Wilson. Wilson is the Pyrenees barking, and Doberman is Isis. She was named before the name got another association. So there's a Pinot Noir, Pommard Pinot Noir grape. We'll grow over this. We're probably going to remove these wine barrels. They just got dried out too fast in the heat of the summer. Green onions and thyme, a couple types of thyme. And this zone 1 kitchen garden bed. It's nice to be able to step out and just get green onion, garlic greens, thyme, cilantro, pretty much all year round. Cilantro seems to grow better in the winter here than in the summer. It's survived through some snows. Leave our wetter brassicas like this arugula and lacinato kale. We let it go to flower because it is one of the better pollen sources for bees in the early spring and late winter. They're all over these little white and yellow flowers in the day. I have lots of garlic. Of, I believe, 7 different varieties of garlic. And there are some strawberries mixed in with calendula, some self-heal, yarrow, which are great tea and medicinal herbs, some mountain huckleberries, really little guys in there. Got to fight back the mint to keep them alive. The strawberry mint. Well, strawberry is a lavender. I believe that's a Spanish lavender. Kristen's right. I need to use the marker over the engraved label to make it readable. There's a rosemary. Yeah, here's a good example of these tree kale. All these tree kale just started from we've got more down there. And I've cut back those all back at least half of, or an equal amount of what is left, because they're crushing our trellis. And they all started from, I think it was 3 or maybe 5 cuttings that were given to us. And garlic, lavender mixed in. In the summer, we grow Mexican sunflowers, and there's many different types of sunflowers, but particularly like those Mexican sunflowers. Or no, silverleaf sunflowers, that's what it was. They really attract a lot of bees and birds, and little smaller yellow flowers that are quite nice, and the seed seems to be a favorite of smaller birds. This is a walking onion, it looks like. It's mixed in with other garlic and other onions, but yeah, It's got to be walking onion. That looks like it's going to produce quite a few bulbs. English lavender. It's a Johnson Sioux bioreactor, which is producing, if I were, I'll work my way down there and show you the wonderful black humus-rich worm castings we're getting after that. There's our cilantro. I just took a big old coriander cilantro plant that had gone to seed and shook it out, or shook a couple of them out over this in the fall 2021, and it's grown all through the winter. So this is our newer Johnson Sioux bioreactor. Should excavate out the chimney that I've got there. Make sure it stays aerated. Some artichokes, we mix artichokes all over because they're great for chop and drop. They accumulate nutrients nicely. This is a hoop culture bed covered in more cuttings of, so as I had to hack back that tree collard, which we eat multiple times a day, but still can't stay on top of, and we got dozens of, if not more than 100 cuttings off of it. And more strawberries. These are ever-bearing strawberries with peas above them. Gotta do that trellising of those peas. I don't plant anything here because it is a septic system and drain field. I have considered doing layer compost and just planting grasses that we commonly call corn or barley, and let them absorb the nutrient of it and feed that to chickens particularly, but still hesitant on that and haven't got around to it. So this is our compost tea. This is going for a fungally rich compost tea with lots of forest humus mixed in. We also have, this is from the Tea Lab, the recipe, just kind of the basic recipe. Instead of molasses, I use barley tea I make from some old brewing grains that I have. And see, I added some rock dust and azomite to that batch, and that will get spread over this entire fenced-in area. The rest is of what you have been shown in these videos has been already compost teed. So here we have a crimson cherry, a nectarine. That's a Harco nectarine. It looks like it's getting some peach leaf curl. Not as bad as the other one I have, but we'll see how the compost tea helps. You can see that peach leaf curl in there. This one is a pluary. There's an alder and then a Rainier cherry behind that. It's a Pakistani mulberry. So this is a source of a good portion of one end of that compost tea. I'll pull out some. We have gotten 2 inches of rain yesterday, so it's gonna be, and then about 16 inches of rain this month. But that is what is coming out. I don't know if I have ever seen you any better. I've bought a lot of different worm castings and compost as well. It smells great. And this was made with mostly, well, not mostly, if anything, it's a lot of shredded leaves and woody debris from the forest around us, native forest, mostly off our property. There's some biochar mixed in that was made in our wood stove in a cast iron Dutch oven. very small scale, but it's mixed in there. Kelp crustacean meal, a lot of worm castings, a lot of weeds, rock dust. And I'm also planting, alder didn't seem to take right here, but that comfrey will accumulate any a lot of the runoff nutrients and be good for chopping and dropping, as well as making tea out of. That's a low quad, yep. Something seems to be nibbling on it. These raised beds we built in 2020. These 4 on the left. Artichoke. Silverberry didn't take, so I planted an alder there for nitrogen fixation. There's a pineapple guava, strawberries underneath. There's a pineapple sage. There's a plum or prunus rootstock grafted to Puget gold apricot. That does not look like those grafts are taking. Alder, where silverberry didn't take. Silverberry is another type of nitrogen fixator. None of them survived the first summer last year. It's a pomegranate just starting to leaf out. I guess before I go down the hill, where we have raspberries, mix of gold and red raspberries and some currants, and there's a grape mixed in there. There's elderberry in this pot, thimbleberry right there. Elderberry with a green tape on it. It's a Pinot Noir grape growing up that pine tree. There's another one down below that pine tree. Red alder. Is that a blue? That's a blue elderberry, I believe. Really should have labeled that. These are some apple seedlings that were just spread on this rock with wood chips. It's just apple mash from leftovers from making cider. It's spread and covered with wood chips, and dozens of them are coming up along this road. I'll leave the strongest ones to grow and shade the road and help cool the area down below our house and grow apples. And I'll transplant as many seedlings as I can. That is a star magnolia. Looks like it got hit hard by that frost and hail that we got. It's a red twig dogwood. Down below here, looking in the center screen, is a Coe's Golden Drop Plum. The graft took. It's the earliest one to take. It's a golden currant. It's a little guy right now, and then there's a pear, ungrafted pear. And it's just transitions from raspberries to currants, and then to to blackberries along the fence line with peas mixed in. I'm realizing I missed the nursery bed, so I'll work my way back to them. It's a thimbleberry. It's a fig down there. It's just a twig with a little bud coming out. I'll work my way down to that. More apples. You can see these apple seedlings coming up. Really, this is just serpentine rock covered with wood chips. And they may have found a way. Red osier dogwood covered in red clover. This was my most productive raised bed last year. I built just last July. It's got the happiest garlic, and it's had happier plants than any of the other ones. Right? The best things I can correlate that with are this got a lot more river sand mixed in with the potting soil mix to improve drainage, and it also got a significant amount of my Johnson Sioux bioreactor compost from the previous batches I made in starting in 2020 and harvested in 2021, which I didn't have available when I built these. They're from bought compost that I'm pretty sure was not nearly as good. The garlic is doing all right. Some alder planted in here for chopping and dropping and building nitrogen. You can see these tree kale are pretty darn happy. Or tree collards, I should say. And so is this alder. And this bed has been planted to marionberries, and this bed has been planted to raspberries from a friend of ours' garden. I'll call them Pat's raspberries. This is the tree seed starting bed called the air prune bed. It's air pruned because it's off the ground. It's hardwood cloth with landscape fabric and potting soil inside, and that keeps taprooted plants from forming a taproot while they're in this temporary home, and instead they create a fibrous root system that's much easier to transplant without shock and damage to a taproot that they would form in most other situations. And then they will form a taproot after they're planted this way. If you don't do it this way, they form a taproot and you cut that taproot, it is much less likely to be formed later. So blueberry bed, I'll come back to that. I just wanted to make sure I covered this nursery bed here. So I built these in the winter of 2021. Or 2020, 2021. And they're slowly transitioning to blueberry, and there's some thornless blackberries in there as well. So they were nurseries for the fruit trees and many of the other things as I got them planted out. Oh, I should say that nut tree, the seedling bed is mainly where I've grown those chestnut and walnut trees. It's the Asian pear, first tree planted here, given to us by our friend Elisa. There's a currant, and in here there are a lot more of currants and other plants, cuttings given to me by Terry Alloway, a local permaculture master. Some blueberries in here, just little guys just starting. Some grape cuttings from our Pinot Noir right here. Mixed in is willow to stimulate rooting. They put out a rooting hormone, which is how they help restore wetlands and stripped gravel bars after flooding. So there's mulberry cuttings in the background. Looks like some of those are budding out and taking. Those currants are certainly taking. Reka blueberry, one of 21 varieties of blueberry I think we have. I have to go back and count. This is a Montmorency cherry, sour pie cherry. I really like those sour cherries when they're dried, especially. There's a Mount Rainier strawberry, or Rainier strawberry. The cuttings mixed in are in here from Terry. Sampo blackcurrant right there. We have a black raspberry, and then a couple other types of raspberries. Some kiwis. These are the females. These are the males. And then there's in the middle here is what's that? A Glenora table grape given to us. The cuttings were given to us by Dave and Hope Salmon, as well as all this bed was from Dave and Hope. Almost all of it was Dave and Hope. This York currant certainly was. That right there. And currants really are easy to root. They just got basically stuck in that bed with a little bit of willow next to it. There's a currant that I don't think is very big. There is a mix of native flowering and ornamental, like beautiful foliage plants along this fence line. Kind of mixed in. It's hard to pick out, but they'll grow up. A mock orange, vine maple. There's a vine maple you can see. Those colorful leaves coming out. Native roses. There's a native rose there. The native roses were in this bed of roses here. Was a project done on Mom's birthday, December 5th, this last year, 2021. So hazelnuts. In the cages are hazelnuts. In the background, there's more oaks and I don't think there's any chestnuts actually. There's more native trees. Some pines that were planted on Mom's birthday in 2020. Another hazelnut in that cage. This is a white rose given to us by our friend Pat. There's an Oregon white oak in that cage back there. Planted that pine behind this cage, and then the hazelnut in front. That's a dogwood, twig dogwood. Yeah. Some variety in there. There's another one over on the opposite side, balancing it out. Native rose, a linden in the background, some more hazelnuts in the foreground, between the fence, just beyond the fence. Amazing manzanitas back there. They actually produce quite a bit of fruit. We should harvest more of. These are hardy kiwis on this north side of the fugu M-shaped keyhole bed. There's a volunteer apple. I don't know how, I think it dropped some seeds at one point somehow. Or I don't know, or it got mixed into the wood chips, got spread there. This is a bed of 18 varieties of blueberries, I think, in it. 17. There's a Chandler, Aurora. I'd have to see which one that was. This label's folded up. Some fennel that got salvaged. It's a top hat. What else is this? It's a legacy. Some lemon balm, which is really effective for mosquito repellent, as well as good for helping you sleep. Strawberries has ground cover. This little guy will actually grow to be one of the biggest types of blueberries. I think it's a Liberty. This was the one I was thinking it was, a Nocturne. Dixie. Blu-ray. North Sky. Back there's an early blue. It's a Patriot. There's a Olympia, the larger one. O'Neill. No, that one's early blue. This one is there. Where'd the label go? Oh. This is the North Blue. Sorry about that. So I gotta plant these couple shrubs out. There's a couple sweet or honeyberries in the next row over. Jersey blueberry there was back there. Elliott blueberry here. Fennel. Asparagus bed in that A shape. It wasn't really planned out, but I guess from the sky you see Ma in these M and A shaped beds. It's just trying to use the space. There's raspberries along this fence line here. It goes about 2/3 of the way down that slope. See, a little Pacific dogwood, although it doesn't look too happy. Second thing that looks like it hasn't made it in that spot. Not too surprising. Kind of doing a mix of stun or strategic total and utter neglect, and doing the least I possibly, or doing what I can with so many trees. And kind of accepting that This is a little bit of natural selection. Well, human steered natural selection. There's a stone fruit. Doesn't look like it's taken. The cutting. The black locust. A little guy next to the manzanita. This cherry, it seemed to be growing a couple weeks ago, and it is now not looking happy. Still got some green bark, but it may be the one cherry that didn't make it. There's a little alder down there from similar technique, or not alder, apple. And it's about time to eat and stop talking. There's a pear to my right here and an elderberry to my right, but it's in this spot in front of the sun. It's a mulberry, but that one doesn't seem to be taken. But we'll keep trying with mulberries because they're so good. And Kristen, my wife, likes them even more than I do. And something she likes more than I do is fig, Violet du Bordeaux fig. And up next to a pear that I thought was dead, but actually came back. Oh, some quail. This is a Japanese plum, an alder, golden currant. This is the really unhappy nectarine. Very bad case of peach leaf curl, which hopefully the compost tea will do some good on. But I'm not all that optimistic. It's one of the harder things to grow in this area. What's this again? This is the pluary. I believe I mixed up a pluot before. We only have one pluary. Sorry about the camera work there. Probably getting dizzy. This is a Harcott apricot. Looks like it's getting some peach leaf curl though. A golden currant. And really, actually, if we get 100% survival, I'm gonna have to do some culling. So that's part of why things are planted so closely, is to allow for selection, natural selection. There's an Etta hazelnut. Johann Thorpe pear does not look like it's taken. At least not yet. It's a French plum, prune plum. Feta hazelnut. It's another fig. Ooh, looks like we lost our label. We'll have to do some deductive guessing. Or I can figure it out. We'll work our way along this fence line. Looking over there below the pond, there's stone fruit next to the road. There's a couple of stone fruit and cherries and pears and plums and mulberries and gooseberries all mixed in. Starting to get tired. Stone fruit doesn't look like the Indian blood peach took. An alder where something didn't take. So that thornless blackberry down here. Some more blackberries on the right. Hazelnut, Jefferson hazelnut. There's a mulberry that I need to label better. Illinois overbearing mulberry, grafted onto the white mulberry. Pear. I tried grapes along this fence line. Those didn't survive without much irrigation. The first year we were here building a lot of other things. So stone fruit, looks like the peach hasn't taken on the cutting. The grape on that pine tree. There's an alder. Pretty darn happy cherry. Mazzard cherry. It's a rootstock or seedling. There's an apple. Mini rock terrace there. So, I believe that's a pluot that took. Yeah, flavor punch pluot. It's a red alder. Vine maple. Kind of the idea of this row here is to have really nice fall color as we walk up from this road below, which we commonly do on walks with the dogs. Quarry would be another great spot for a pond as I get materials for repairing the driveway and conducting water into biologically beneficial places rather than road destroying and stream sediment clogging problems that we have inherited. So down there's a mulberry, a madrone, linden, cherry, Oregon ash, and deep down there's a big leaf maple. So I think there's an alder getting close to haven't said hi to pretty much every tree. There's a yamhill hazelnut, another hazelnut here. There's 3 in this row. This is a vine maple, then there's an alder, and that's a linden. It looks like it didn't make it last year. There's a mulberry up here. It's been grafted to the, let's see which one was it grafted to. Oh, Terry said that I actually got that wrong. I'm gonna have to figure that out from the leaves and the fruit it takes. There's an elderberry, a cherry. Oh, it looks like the graft took on that one. A Vandalay cherry. Just walked past a little apple, black locust, and I guess this view from the house is a good place to maybe wrap it up. So this is again, I'm Ben Zumeta. This is the Terrea Zumeta Memorial Food Forest, planned for my mom, starting in 2020, and it's the site of Old Growth Orchard and Nursery. Hoping to be selling fruit and perennial plants grown in a permaculture, organic and beyond manner. We really try, do everything we can to improve biodiversity, maximize biomass with big trees, wherever possible, being the long-term climax ecosystem, edible ecosystem that will kind of shape itself at some point. And well, hopefully it becomes of benefit to enough other living things that the cycle starts to reinforce itself. So thanks for listening and following along, and thank you to all who have supported the establishment of this food forest. My brother Brian, my aunts and uncles and dad, and thanks to my mom, who never got to see this, but she taught me to garden when I was just a little kid, and really none of this would have happened without her. So thanks, Mom. Love you all. and have a wonderful spring and summer.